I woke up in the same bed as my 3 childhood friends. Suddenly, a floating text appeared in the air. The evil villainess Emma is about to discover her childhood friends' gay feelings for each other and start causing trouble, which will eventually lead to her own downfall. Evil villainess? Me? To verify if this floating text was real, I poked each of my 3 friends' abs. They all jumped up from the bed instantly. The text was telling the truth. The slightly harsh light hit my face as I opened my eyes to see 3 enlarged handsome faces, my 3 childhood friends. I instinctively pulled the blanket tighter around myself, my brain slowly recalling last night's events. Last night was my first time going to a bar, but just as I was about to leave, my 3 childhood friends caught me. They couldn't resist my pleading, so they had to compromise and come with me. Once there, all 3 of them wouldn't let me drink. Going to a bar without drinking? What's the difference between that and ordering male models just to chat? So everything I ordered ended up in my 3 friends' mouths instead. After figuring out what happened, I sighed in relief. Good thing nothing crazy happened after drinking. I was about to lift the blanket and get out of bed when I saw text floating in the air like subtitles. The evil villainess Emma is about to discover her childhood friends' gay feelings for each other and start causing trouble, which will eventually lead to her own downfall. Evil villainess? Me? I stood there confused, reading that text over and over until I finally understood what it meant. I looked back at the 3 broad-shouldered, narrow-waisted hunks lying on the bed. I fell silent. My childhood friends are gay? I don't believe it. To verify if the floating text was real, I carefully climbed back onto the bed and extended one finger. I poked each of the 3 men's exposed abs one by one. They all felt pretty good. I rubbed my fingers together, but before I could properly appreciate the sensation, all 3 handsome faces opened their eyes. Among the 3, the youngest, Jake, had the most intense reaction. He yelped, and when he saw it was me, his face and ears turned completely red. The silver cross earring on his earlobe swayed with his movement. He looked exactly like a molested little wife. The other 2 had equally subtle reactions. The oldest, Peter, sat up with a light blush on his cheeks, quietly pulling down his rolled-up shirt. But Peter's bosom muscles were so big that covering them seemed pointless. It just made him more tempting. While I was staring at Peter's bosom, Nathan's low voice pulled my thoughts back. Seems like Emma has really learned to be naughty. I turned to meet a pair of flirtatious fox eyes, but Nathan's usually smiling face was unusually cold. In this subtle atmosphere, Peter glanced at the messy bed, his gaze darkening slightly. Jake finally realized the situation too. Blushing and trembling, he asked, "Did we all sleep together last night?" I rolled my eyes at him. Wasn't that obvious? Jake looked like he was about to combust and ran out the door. Nathan cleared his throat and followed him out. Only Peter remained sitting on the bed. Meeting my gaze, Peter awkwardly tugged at his collar, then stood up to make the bed. He then went through all the things I needed to be careful about when home alone, made breakfast, and only left after that. Once the house quieted down, I noticed the crazy scrolling text in midair, floating comments. Woo-woo, Peter really deserves to be the mom friend. I love him so much. Big bosom muscles. I'm drooling. Hot-tempered little wolf Jake. I want to make him kneel and sing surrender. I love Playboy Nathan. I want to see all 3 of them being tops and bottoms for love. I read every single floating comment word by word. I fell into deep self-doubt. My 3 childhood friends seemed to really be gay. And even worse, I was apparently the evil villainess who gets tortured to death from unrequited love for them. Looking at the floating text, I felt I had a duty to fight for my friend's love. For some reason, ever since leaving my room that day, Jake started consciously avoiding me. He used to come to my house all the time to hog the gaming console. Now he wouldn't even step through the front door. As for Peter, he was always busy. Being the oldest of us 4, Peter took over family business affairs at the beginning of the year, so I decided to find Nathan. The reason was simple. Neither Peter nor Jake had close male or female friends around them, but Nathan, being a playboy, had never stopped having women around him since I'd known him. To prevent any dramatic third-wheel stories in my friend's future love life, I decided to help Nathan understand his true feelings first. He shouldn't love women, he should love men. As 4 people who grew up together, the distance between my house and Peter's, Jake's, and Nathan's was just the difference between turning left, right, or going straight when leaving home. Nathan's house was to the right of mine. I originally planned to wait for him at his house, but as I approached the living room, I heard a very secretive breathing sound. My gaze shifted and immediately landed on 2 overlapping silhouettes behind the curtains. I widened my eyes and saw Nathan's familiar profile behind the curtains. Just as his hands were wandering restlessly over the girl, I flicked on the living room light with a snap. The girl was startled and instinctively hid in Nathan's arms. Nathan covered the woman's face, turned sideways to block her, and looked coldly in my direction. When he saw me, a look of bewilderment flashed across his flushed face. "Emma, why are you here?" Nathan instinctively let go of the woman in his arms and walked toward me, but was quickly pulled back by the wrist. The woman looked me up and down, then grabbed Nathan's shirt. "Who is she? Didn't you say you'd completely cut ties with your ex-girlfriend?" Faced with the woman's somewhat hysterical questioning, Nathan frowned imperceptibly and broke free from her grip. "Don't misunderstand. When introducing my identity," Nathan paused, as if thinking about how to introduce me to the woman. "She's my little sister." Nathan never liked explaining his emotional relationships with other people to women, but in the woman's eyes, this just seemed like a cover-up. Little sister. Nathan's panicked